Do you love light novels? Well, here are 5 light novels that you need to check out in 2025. The first one we're going to talk about is one of the all-time greats, and it's currently getting a remake, and that title is Spice and Wolf. Now, this is an economic romance title. That's right, economics romance title, in which a young merchant named Kraft Lawrence suddenly comes across a young wolf woman named Holo. Holo is wanting to go back to her old town. She's feeling nostalgic, but she kind of wants to live out the rest of her life back in this old town. However, things aren't going to be easy when it turns out that, well, this town may very well be lost to the ages. This is a title about economics, it's about gods, it's just fantastic. Honestly, it is one of the best light novels and is absolutely fantastic. If you would have said to me an economics based series, no, that doesn't sound too interesting. Honestly, try it. This is fantastic. Most of the volumes are standalone. Now, I'm going to be honest, it does kind of struggle a little bit in terms of its pacing. By which I mean the volumes are standalone, however they do confess their feelings in about 7 to 8 volumes in, and it ends on volume 17 or 18 and then continues again after that, along with a spin-off that is also ongoing. So if you just want a slow economic based, and it will be economic based, you would be surprised at how much this series managed to make economics seem fun and interesting. But it's worth your time. This one is a must read and used to be the #1 read on my anime list in terms of light novels. But in my heart of hearts, it will always be one of the best. Number 2 is Blade and Bastard. Now, this one is one that you guys might not have heard of because it hasn't yet gotten its anime. And an anime is announced, however. This has been written by the same author as Goblin Slayer, with the art by Sobin, who did, well, Overlord. They come together to bring us an absolutely fantastic title based on the old Wizardry games. Now, Wizardry was originally a game version of a specific story, specific campaign in Dungeons and Dragons, and that is brought to life in this world. Now, this actually follows the escapades of dungeon crawlers, but not the normal dungeon crawlers, you know, the ones that we see where they just go to clear the dungeon to get the treasures, defeat the dragon, or what have you. This is the dungeon crawlers who go in and, well, they collect the corpses. Their job is to go into the dungeon and collect the corpses of the fallen heroes. They will then take them back to the church and get a fee, a little bit of money for reviving them. And that's how they earn their living. But what we have here is a series of stories about these people who go into the dungeon. They go in and they explore the dungeon. We have some absolutely incredible fight scenes, some incredible character development, and it is, as you would expect, a dark fantasy. Each of our protagonists is interesting enough. We have our main protagonist who is a bit of a loner. He is well known, he is known to be a good adventurer, but he doesn't work well with others. We've got an elf priestess who is kind of like the one who's like the mother hen for all of them, but is always willing to lend a helping hand. We have a young girl who is just basically abandoned and has lived in the dungeon called Garbage because she is literally the garbage that has been thrown out and left there. She got a lot more things coming for her, but she is very, very interesting in terms of how her life is going on, because she can't talk, she can just grunt and bit like a wolf kind of thing. But it's really well done. We have a giantess mage who everybody thinks her staff is just a club, but no, she is a mage and she is absolutely amazing. One of the most fantastic light novel characters I have read. We also have a thief who's also got a lot of interest and development. There is a lot in here, and I've only read 2 volumes, but this is easily one that I think is going to be absolutely huge, and if you aren't reading this one, you need to get it checked out. Next up is a title that, honestly, I don't get to talk about nearly enough, but it received a physical release last year and is now one of the all-time best-seller light novel titles, and for good reason. This one is fantastic, and that one is The Apothecary Diaries. Now, this is set in an alternative world, fictional world of what is basically the Ming Dynasty in China. We have our protagonist Mao Mao, who is an apothecary, basically like, you know, like the herbal kind of like healing kind of thing, and due to lack of money, she is sold into servitude into the palace. She keeps her things a little bit of a secret. However, she's soon found out, and what she's basically thrown into is a bunch of murder mysteries. I'm going to be honest, a murder mystery series that takes place during the Ming Dynasty in China. Yeah, it is a fantastic one. This is one where I feel like you kind of just need to talk about the setting, the world, and the characters, because all of them are exceptional in this one. It is a series that, you know, just Mao Mao is just an absolutely, she's a sweetheart, but she's got a sharp tongue on her. But she's obviously somewhat out of her depth, because obviously all of the other prostitutes are just like, you know, but she has her wits. She's an apothecary, she can taste poison, and there are a lot of shenanigans and dark things going on in this world. This one is popular for a reason. Of course, the anime adaptation elevated it to new heights, but it is one that I really do think you guys need to check out, because it's unlike just about anything else that is out there. I can't think of anything else that does what this does and does it well. Apothecary Diaries deserves all of the love it's getting, and if you haven't checked it out, if you've already watched the anime, do check out the light novel in 2025. So for number 4, you guys are gonna guess, what series do I always use these kind of videos to hype up? What series had an anime adaptation that was absolutely rubbish, but the light novel is exceptional? And if you guys aren't shouting Infinite Dendrogram at this page right now, shout it in the comments, Infinite Dendrogram, well, you guys are going to learn something today. Infinite Dendrogram is an MMO. It is one of those MMOs where people go into it and basically it somewhat replaces their life. People who can't do anything in real life, people who are bored of real life, people who are looking for an escape, they go into Infinite Dendrogram, because this is basically another world full of promise, full of infinite possibilities. And you know what? It is fantastic. If you've ever read One Piece or My Hero Academia or JoJo, where you get these characters with over-the-top abilities, over-the-top stand powers or what have you, that's in here. But we also get the Xenoblade blade system, you know, where a sword might actually be a cute girl. We get that. We also have world building, and when I say world building, I don't think I've actually read a light novel, even the one that we're going to talk about in a minute, that has the amount of world building that this has, because the world of Infinite Dendrogram is vast. There are multiple countries. There's about 7 major countries. We've seen 2 so far, and we get a cast of characters that, well, they expand. They're more and more interesting. The villains are interesting. The villains also kind of somewhat become allies later on. But we will get chapters, we will get volumes dedicated to just this random character, this random enemy who was an enemy in like chapter 2 or 3, but is now getting like a full-on arc. This is one where originally I was like, oh, is this going to end? Is this building towards anything? it is slowly building towards stuff, but as time's gone on, it feels like more of kind of just glimpses, windows into what people are doing in this world. If you want a series with a ton of great characters, absolutely fantastically written, shonen-esque, over-the-top fights, a world that is just infinite possibilities and there's no limit to it, Infinite Dendrogram needs to be on your list. The anime was appalling. The anime did so much bad for it, but this is one of the best light novels, and I will die on that hill. Now, before we get on to the last book, let me know in the comments what titles you think are unmissable, and let me know why. And if you do like this, remember to leave a like and consider subscribing. I am reading so many light novels and I'm giving them reviews, I'm giving them recommendations, I am telling you what light novels are worth reading and what might not be, and I'm checking out light novels that people might not ordinarily check out. And we're talking light novels, not web novels, not Korean, not Chinese, not American novels. We're talking light novels from Japan. Now, finally, for the last title, it's the one you expected. It is the best light novel in my opinion, Ascendance of a Bookworm. Now, this is about a young girl who absolutely adores books, to the point that she is crushed by a mountain of books, dies, and then is reborn as a sickly child in the poor part of a country. Now, what I love about this is that the world expands. The world grows bigger and bigger as things develop. At the end of the day, a poor sickly child that is entirely confined to her bed, entirely confined to the house that she lives in, she's not going far. But as the volumes progress, she goes into the town, she goes into the city, she discovers the church, she discovers the nobles, and then things just get more and more out of control. But she's always got a goal. Her goal is to read all of the books. A poor child is never ever gonna read books. They're too expensive. So what's she gonna do? She's going to invent them. And yes, a lot of the first few volumes is focusing on mine, just going around and inventing little things like hairpins and shampoo, or just trying her best with the local kids to try and make her own books. As the series very rapidly escalates, she starts getting more and more eyes on her. The church looks to her, the nobles look to her, and mine soon ends up the centre of attention. Now, I'm going to be honest, some of the characters in here are a little bit boring, and a lot of the characters do end up being kind of just there to prop mine up and just make her look a little bit better. But there are a lot of great story arcs in here. There are a lot of great and interesting characters. And what I like about this is that very much it is the point of view of mine. Because at the end of the day, people who aren't in mine's kind of like vision, or isn't related to mine, or has no association with her, she's not really going to know much about them. She doesn't know what so and so did after they left the village and kind of did whatever. Other series might focus on that in order to bring them back, but this one, it doesn't necessarily do that. Now, there are a lot of characters that do have connections with her, and we do still see them over the course of it, but this is not necessarily that kind of story. As the series goes on, things just get more and more great. It is easily one of the best written light novels. It is easily a light novel that you know from reading it that the author knew what they wanted to do with the story. They had a clear goal, because we've got so many of these series where they just go on and on and on, and there is no true ending. For example, Infinite Dendrogram, we don't know if that might end, but Ascendance of a Bookworm is now complete in digital form. We are very rapidly ending the series. I think it might even end this year in physical format. So if you've not read it, now is a great chance to try and pick them up, because this is easily the best light novel out there, and I don't say that lightly.